In a quiet, forgotten corner of the countryside, there lived an old farmer named Elias. His farm wasn't the biggest, nor was it the most modern. In fact, most folks in the nearby town thought he was just a stubborn old man, clinging to the past. His hands were gnarled like ancient tree roots, and his face was a roadmap of wrinkles, each line telling a story of sun, wind, and worry. But what they didn't see was the unwavering fire in his eyes. For years, Elias had faced every hardship a farmer could imagine. One year, a severe drought turned his vibrant green fields into a cracked, dusty wasteland. The streams ran dry, and the well grew shallow. His neighbors sold their land and moved to the city, shaking their heads and telling him, "Elias, you can't fight nature, it's over." But Elias didn't listen. Every morning, before the sun even thought about rising, he was out there, digging deeper channels, searching for underground springs and mulching his plants with whatever he could find to preserve every precious drop of moisture. He'd whisper to the thirsty soil, "Just a little longer. We'll get through this." And they did. When the rains finally came, his was the first farm to show signs of life. Another year, it wasn't a lack of water, but too much. A storm of biblical proportions descended upon the valley. The river swelled and burst its banks, flooding everything. His crops were submerged, his fences torn down. The water rose almost to the steps of his small farmhouse. Again, his neighbors despaired. "This is the final blow," they said. "There's no coming back from this." But as soon as the waters receded, Elias was out in the mud, his boots sinking with every step. He didn't see ruin. He saw an opportunity. He saw the rich new layer of silt the flood had deposited. He spent weeks rebuilding his fences, clearing debris, and preparing the newly enriched soil. That autumn, he had the most bountiful harvest of his life. Then came the blight, a strange sickness that crept through the valley, withering potato plants and turning tomatoes to mush. Agricultural experts came from the city with their charts and chemicals, offering solutions that didn't work. Panic spread. Many farmers simply gave up and plowed their sick crops under. But Elias, he remembered something his grandfather told him. He walked his fields, not with a sprayer, but with a keen eye. He noticed that certain wild herbs growing along the edges of his property seemed untouched. He spent his evenings poring over old, dusty books, brewing concoctions of these herbs. He sprayed his plants with these natural remedies, trusting in the old ways. People called him a fool. But slowly, miraculously, his plants began to recover. His farm became a small green island in a sea of decay. Through all of these trials, what truly set Elias apart wasn't just his hard work, but his mindset. He never saw these events as failures or defeats. He saw them as lessons. The drought taught him about water conservation. The flood taught him about the power of silt and soil renewal. The blight taught him the importance of biodiversity and traditional wisdom. He used to say, "The land is a great teacher, but it speaks in a quiet voice. You have to be willing to listen, especially when it's screaming at you with a storm or whispering with a drought." As the years rolled on, the young people who had left the valley started to hear stories about the old farmer who never gave up. Some, tired of the city's concrete embrace, decided to come back. They didn't come back to Markham anymore. They came to learn. They would find Elias sitting on his porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and purple. He'd welcome them with a warm smile and a cup of fresh mint tea. He taught them how to read the clouds, how to understand the language of the soil, and how to tell which seeds would thrive. He didn't just teach them farming techniques. He taught them a philosophy. Farming isn't about bending nature to your will, he'd explain. It's about dancing with it. Sometimes it leads, sometimes you lead, sometimes you stumble. The key is to never let go, to keep your rhythm, and to trust your partner. He taught them that failure wasn't an endpoint, but a starting line for a new approach. When a crop failed, he'd gather them around and ask, "All right, what did the land tell us this time? Was it too wet? Not enough sun? Did we plant too early?" Each setback became a communal lesson, a piece of a larger puzzle. The young farmers, filled with this new perspective, began to see their land not as a factory for producing food, but as a living, breathing partner. Elias's farm became a hub of innovation, not the high-tech kind, but a deep, earthbound innovation rooted in observation and respect. They experimented with companion planting, natural pest control, and crop rotation, blending old wisdom with new energy. The valley, once on the brink of abandonment, began to flourish again. The fields were a patchwork of healthy, diverse crops, and the sound of laughter and collaboration replaced the silence of despair. One evening, a young journalist came from the city to do a story on the valley's revival. She found Elias on his porch, as he always was, looking out over the land he had poured his life into. "Mr. Elias," she said, "everyone says you're the man who saved this valley. You faced drought, floods, and plagues. You never gave up. What's your secret? What kept you going when everyone else quit?" Elias took a slow sip of his tea and looked out at the fields, now glowing in the golden light. He pointed a weathered finger towards a young sapling he had recently planted near his porch. "You see that little tree?" he said. "Last winter, a heavy snow bent it right to the ground. I thought for sure it had snapped. But when the snow melted, it slowly, day by day, began to straighten itself out. It's not as straight as it was. It has a little curve in it now, a memory of its struggle. But it's still growing, reaching for the sun." He turned his gentle eyes to the journalist. "Giving up is easy. It's a straight path to nowhere. The hard path, the one with all the curves and bends from the struggles, that's the one that leads you to the sun. The secret isn't to never fall. It's to always find a reason to get back up." "My reason," he said, gesturing to the vibrant valley and the new generation of farmers, "is all of this. It was always worth getting up for. The valley wasn't just alive. It was stronger, more resilient, and more connected than ever before. All thanks to the old farmer who simply refused to give up." Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that celebrates the human spirit. See you next time.